earlier in the show, I shared a little bit about what was coming up with the Facebook.
Facebook.
Brian and I were talking offline. I cannot talk this week with the light bulb moment. And you heard some more about it too when Pete was doing that reading for me, where I just have really been having, it's not like I've been having a hard time. It's I've had something in particular really show up for me that I need to work on shifting. And you might remember a few weeks ago, I did a light bulb moment on competing and comparing. And there's a reason that was showing up for me. About 10 days ago, I saw my energy healer that I worked with last spring. And she told me that some of the energy from my third chakra, which is the power chakra, that instead of grounding it to the earth, was leaping out at people. And it was making them feel like, ooh, that person feels a little scary, even though I wasn't doing anything. And this folds into that the very next day, had some issues with my teenage son, which if you have been a parent of a teenager, probably is not that unusual. But it was kind of like things were building to a crescendo. And I went to see my former therapist last week, and it was horrible, awful session. And I felt attacked by her. I came home and I just bawled my eyes out. And the next morning, I began to see what it was that she was talking about, what she was trying to get me to see, albeit not in the most helpful way, because I didn't see it. And it was very painful to acknowledge about myself. And yet I could see that I was the one who was attacking me. I was the one who was making myself bad or wrong. It wasn't her doing that to me. And I used Byron Katie's The worksheet to help me get clear on that. And it's a reaction that I have when I feel threatened. And it was really difficult for me to look at it because I wanted to make myself bad and wrong and not good enough. And it was like all or nothing. I knew I was stuck in this all or nothing thing where either I'm a bad person or I'm a good person. And this particular reaction that I would have would put me in the bad person category. And, I started to realize that, okay, this is only one component of me, and it's something I can do something about. And the only way that I could do something about it was by having the courage to actually look at it and own it before I could change it. And it's been years of this particular thing showing up in different ways. And this is the first time I've really been able to have that courage to look at it. And it was very painful, and it still is kind of painful because, this is very new and fresh for me. And I realized that the behavior goes way back to when I was a child. And I could see lots of situations throughout my life where this defensiveness was how I reacted. And I realized it wasn't how I want to react. But up until now, I evidently was not yet ready to change it. And I could see even beyond being defensive with people when I feel threatened, I could see how in my everyday life competing shows up all the time. All the time. It's like I get anxious if I think someone's going to get in front of me in line at a store. And you might remember I shared my story when I was talking about competing about, the guy who was, trying to get in front of me on the freeway. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person who is in that place of feeling competitive with everyone else all the time. It doesn't feel good to me. It leads to me feeling upset and unhappy, and it doesn't get me what I want anyway. So that's something that I am now committed to changing. And I'm sharing it with you because it really has been a rough time of it for me in the past 5 days, really. It was last Friday when I had that session with my former therapist where I kid you not, I came and I haven't cried that hard in years, and it really didn't feel good. And yet it was what was able to move me to where I was able to start seeing what she was trying to show me, and also that I was attacking myself. There's a Buddhist saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And that's what it's about, is we all get hurt. We all have things happen that hurt us, but it's our thoughts and what we tell ourselves about or what it means about me as a person that creates the suffering. So I'm starting to let go of the suffering I've created around this reaction that I want to shift. And what I want to say about it is that, yeah, it was really painful and I didn't die. I'm still here. I'm talking to you today and I'm actually pretty together with it. I'm not, some, puddle of ook in the corner that fell apart. So I want to share with you some ways that maybe you can get yourself to that pain threshold that will push you to be ready and willing to change. So the first thing is look at, is there a certain reaction or behavior in your life that's causing you grief? You feel upset when you do that behavior, or you don't get the result you want when you do it. And some ways you might notice that showing up is you blame others instead of looking at your own role. If we're afraid to look at our own role, there's something there for us. Whenever your behavior is brought to your attention, you make excuses for yourself, or you try and turn it around back on the other person. And these are both ways that really keep us from looking at something that we think will be too painful for us to tolerate. And the antidote to that is to actually turn around and really look at it despite your fear. Do the ugly cry if you have to. Remind yourself that you're human and you're not perfect. Your soul, your true essence is perfect. But as a human being, you're not perfect. And let yourself feel whatever you need to feel. Then start looking at how to turn it around. And change does happen. We don't stay stuck in that place of pain. A friend of mine posted on Facebook today, no feeling is final. Remind yourself of that. I won't be stuck in this painful feeling. And that's when your change will start to take place.